I don't know. I'm not sure. Got to check it out.
Hey, in this business, we call that foreshadowing, and it's finally come to fruition. Aaron Rodgers headed to Pittsburgh. Welcome to NFL Live. Phil Murphy here. We're running 21 personnel today. Kevin Clark, Jeremy Fowler in the studio. Mina Kimes, she'll be in the big screen with us. Aaron Rodgers, he's got a gold jacket with his name on it someday, but for now, he's in black and yellow. Let's dive into it. Last season, QBR, not kind to Rodgers. He ranked 25th. Total QBR 48. He also ranked 28th in yards per attempt. That downfall did predate his torn Achilles. You see 2022, last year with the Packers, he was 26th in QBR, but that was after leading the league, not just 2021 on screen, 2020 as well. He won MVP both of those years. Jeremy, we now know Rodgers is a Steeler. How did we finally get to this point?
Constant communication. Mike Tomlin, OC Arthur Smith talking up with Rodgers the last few weeks just to make sure everybody was comfortable, meaningful conversations. And then I was told Thursday morning inside the Steelers building is when this really started to intensify. And actually some relief set in because everybody there, everybody involved felt that this was going to happen. They expected it, but they never really got an affirmative yes until that point. And so that's when the ball got rolling, and now everybody's excited. You know, they gave Rodgers time, too, with the personal matter he had. I was told that that was big for them to just try to be patient through this process, let him work that out. That was real. And then now they got him. They believe he's been in excellent shape training in LA, and he's ready to go.
Not a huge surprise ultimately that we got here, but that tension started to build as the calendar says June. I mean, Rodgers in his prime, we know routinely 30 to 40 touchdowns to 5 picks maybe on a year. What are the Steelers getting with Rodgers at QB in 2025?
If he plays like he did last year or the year before his Achilles injury, a below-average quarterback. You know, watching him with the Jets, it wasn't helped by the offensive line and the lack of an efficient run game, but you really saw some of the flaws I think you saw prior to his exit from Green Bay. And the one thing that jumped out to me, he still has arm strength. He can still make throws down the field, outside the numbers. Quick game, he's still accurate. But the intermediate throws that the best quarterbacks in the NFL dine on in that 10 to 20 yard range was really missing for Rodgers last year in that part of the field. 10 to 20 yards, 30th in QBR, 30th in EPA per play, 29th in completion percentage over expected. Now, there's a chance that a year removed from his Achilles injury, maybe he's more comfortable moving around in the pocket, navigating pressure. But he's 42 years old. I don't know if that's a bet I'm comfortable to make, so I would keep my expectations pretty tempered.
When I look at this situation, I'm going to give a take that you're probably not going to hear a lot. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be bad. It's going to be average, which is good enough to get the Steelers to the playoffs. When I think about Aaron Rodgers right now in his early 40s, I think about a guy who can't move, but what can he do? He can be really good pre-snap, and he can throw the deep ball. That's two pretty good things. You add that with DK Metcalf, and you got something cooking. But when I think about this offense, I need to see a merging between Arthur Smith's idea of offense and Aaron Rodgers. With Matt LaFleur and the MVP era, which I would call maybe 2019 to 2021, it was Rodgers getting his back to the defense, play action, understanding there were other ideas in offense. There were not just Aaron Rodgers and Nate Hackett and Mike McCarthy. So I want to see him buy into Arthur Smith. I want to see him play action. That's the kind of thing that can get Rodgers to be the 14th, 15th best quarterback in the NFL, and that's playoffs for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like loosely with the football at times when we talk about Aaron Rodgers buying into a new offense because I just don't believe it, right? He's going to run the Aaron Rodgers offense. Quarterbacks don't get more accepting of change, usually older in their careers. And it is a little bit of a strange fit, Kevin. I mean, last year, Arthur Smith, that offense ran the 5th most under center snaps in football. Rodgers prefers to be in the gun. You saw that bottom 10 rate in New York. I don't know what this marriage looks like, but I do know this. They have to have a strong run game for any of this to work, and that is something that the Steelers have invested in. So that would probably be my biggest case for optimism, that we see a better Rodgers than we did last year with the Jets. If they can run the football better, then maybe he'll be in better down a distance.
A couple of years ago, I talked to Rodgers about how he basically invented that new offense with Matt LaFleur that won him an MVP, and a lot of it was blind throws. And who did he study when he was looking at blind throws? Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith. That was the buy-in. That was how he understood how to hang in the pocket and trust that offense. And so I wonder if he goes back to that a little bit, looks at that Tannehill tape from that year where Tannehill was one of the best quarterbacks in football, if you guys remember, borrow from that. If I'm Arthur Smith, I clip out that article I wrote a couple years ago and put it in his locker and say, look, you watched me. You watched me.
That plug there.
Hey, fine, It's going to be fine. Fine would be an upgrade for the Pittsburgh
Yes.
at the end of last season. Steelers, 14.2 points per game in their last 5. Speaking of, that's now 5 different QBs to start week 1 for the Steelers in the last 5 years. Hey, the Colts had a longer run than that post Andrew Luck. Now Indy's going to be without QB Anthony Richardson for the immediate future, as the 23-year-old aggravated the right shoulder joint he injured back in 2023. Head coach Shane Steichen on Thursday gave this update on his QB.
So we're going to set him out this week. Obviously, he'll sit out for minicamp. We'll see when he comes back. Not going to put a timetable for training camp on it, but when he does come back, we'll ease him into throwing, and then we'll go from there. The good thing is he's not going to need a procedure right now. Obviously, look, it's frustrating, but I think at the same time, in life and anything, you go through these obstacles and these ups and downs, and you got to fight through them. That's part of life. And like I said, he's in good spirits right now, so we'll work through it.
Been a rough couple years in the Colts QB stable. Anthony Richardson's touchdown to interception ratio ranks second worst amongst 45 QBs to throw at least 250 passes the last 2 seasons. The only QB who's worse is teammate Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, who the Colts did sign this offseason. Richardson, 8 TDs to 12 picks last year in 11 games, completing just 47.7% of his passes. Jeremy Fowler, that is the 3rd worst of any QB this millennium. But Richardson, the health now is the question. He played just 15 games total in 2 seasons. What more can you tell us about his health today?
Yeah, Phil, I'm not going to look at that QB room of the Colts the same after some of those stats, but Anthony Richardson, I'm told, reported some symptoms, some agitation on his throwing shoulder a couple days ago. He had an AC joint fixed up surgically in 2023. So it's similar to that injury, but there's nothing structural based on the people I've talked to. They believe, looking at the scans, that there's no major red flag and that he simply does need rest. And the Colts are a little bummed by this because the coaches felt like he had some of his best 2 days of practice leading up to this point. And so I'm told the player fully expects to be back for the start of training camp. But this is a slippery slope here, as we know, because there have been a lot of injuries here. And the Colts are sort of cautiously optimistic, I would call it, based on some conversations I've had today.
We had a whole full screen for it, and Kevin, GM Chris Ballard during Combine Week leaned into the word competition regarding this QB job. 2 weeks later, Daniel Jones puts pen to paper. Are we trending toward Jones being the starter, the QB1 in Indy?
Yeah, you don't give Daniel Jones $14 million unless he's in a competition, all right? That's just the way quarterback salaries work in this league. He has thrown, Anthony Richardson, 348 passes in the NFL. In his first 2 years, that is the 2nd lowest of any top 10 pick in the last 20 years. Trey Lance is the only player with less pass attempts. Okay, it was drafted in the top 10. Jake Locker had a few more than Anthony Richardson. That's the area of the pool that Anthony Richardson is in right now. So he needs to play more football. I've never seen anybody more destined to be in the 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition than Anthony Richardson, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a training camp where Daniel Jones will probably start with the ones. There's job preservation now going on in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen and Chris Fowler. They're going to want to get to 7, 8, 9 wins in order to keep their job. They're not going to want to take a flyer on Anthony Richardson and say, hey, let's hope he develops. Let's hope he finally shows out the athleticism he showed at the Combine when he was literally the best athlete the quarterback position has ever seen there. I just don't think it's going to happen. He's going to get a good start somewhere else.
Yeah, this is really bad news for him, because I think for Anthony Richardson, this summer wasn't just about winning the competition, say, in the preseason. It was about winning the competition in the offseason as well. This is a summer-long competition. He had to show he is taking this seriously. He is coming in and willing to be the leader of this football team, and this injury just sets him back. It changes the timeline yet again. And as Kevin accurately said, he needs reps in every sense of the word. I do think this appears to be trending towards Daniel Jones being the starting quarterback. And I think that they can build an efficient offense around him. I really do. I would borrow from a lot of what Brian Daboll did in 2022. Heavy designed quarterback run game, a lot of zone reads, and that, which of course Shane Steichen knows how to do as well at a high level. RPOs, short passes. I think that was something, with Richardson, they had one of the highest, definitely the highest average depth of target in football. You make the passing game more efficient. It's less explosive. You're not going to have some of the high-end throws, but you can call a functional offense, which I imagine is what Shane Steichen wants.
Yeah, a quick note on why this quarterback battle could fascinate if it does happen. I was told Daniel Jones signed with the Colts. It wasn't really money. He felt that was the best chance for him to start. Meanwhile, Richardson took the the message that, hey, look, I don't care if Joe Montana's competing with me. I'm going to compete against whoever. I'm going to beat him out. In fact, he threw a lot this offseason because he was trying to get ready for this battle. Might have even overworked himself and hurt his shoulder. So there are some subplots here where I still think he'll get on the field and they'll be able to duke it out. Coaches have already mapped out how they want this to look day to day come late July.
I mean, the old cliche, best abilities availability, and between the stats we showed and the stats we've read about off-target percentage and not even throwing the ball, it does seem concerning, and it's certainly something we're going to be tracking here through the offseason. We're just getting started here on NFL Live.
It's a pick on one. And to thank Chris Godwin, who, by the way, was leading the NFL in receptions at the time he was hurt, who has been the fourth best player among all receivers out of the slot since he entered the league. He doesn't have to play week one. If he has a setback in training camp, there's anything like that, they can ease him in because of the depth, because Jason Light is an amazing general manager.
Yeah, of course, you add Emeka Egbuka, 19th overall in the draft, 1,000 yards out of Ohio State last year. Also part of the luxury of 4 straight division titles for Tampa. KC's won 9 straight division titles, 3 straight trips to the Super Bowl. Jeremy, they did that without Rashee Rice post week 4. Well, what's the latest with him?
Yeah, he's been trending positively enough where I'm told that he probably could be cleared in about a month if he keeps progressing the way he is, but that doesn't mean the Chiefs will necessarily clear him in a month. They're going to take it slowly with him. It'd probably be a mild surprise if he played at least early in the preseason, but they want to get his strength up. That's the key, and they feel like that takes time. But he is certainly trending to play early in the season, and the Chiefs, I know, are elated that they finally have a chance to get Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown on the same field at the same time. That's why they feel like they haven't been the same the last 2 years offensively.
Well, I mean, they haven't been the same. They ranked 29th in yards per reception by wide receivers last season and still made it to a Super Bowl. Mina, how much does this KC offense change if Rice is healthy?
He really is the missing piece in this receiver group. Jeremy talked about sort of how the Chiefs see him fitting alongside the existing core. Rashee Rice, at the end of last season, or pardon me, the season prior to last season, his route tree had really expanded, and he was particularly useful on in-breaking routes, slants, ins, and particularly crossers. Xavier Worthy, you saw, developed a lot of utility on outbreakers, and I think the pairing of them, coupled with Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce, makes this offense a lot more complete, gives Patrick Mahomes a lot more answers.
The 49ers had a litany of injuries last year. Wideout Brandon Aayuk had his season ended by a torn ACL, not even 2 months after signing a huge extension. Jeremy, what's the latest with Aayuk?
Aayuk was basically a glorified receivers coach in OTAs because this is a long injury, ACL and MCL, so he was never really going to participate in that part of it. Certainly they're going to work his way back, try to get him involved in training camp in some capacity. But for comparison, TJ Hawkinson, the Vikings tight end, when he did that same injury, he came back mid-season that next year. So this can take some time. This is a weird existence with Aayuk and the 49ers because there was some trade chatter a few months ago. They're on the hook for $25 million in cash this year. Certainly untradeable right now, you would think, because of the injury.
Year-over-year win reduction, only Cleveland was worse than San Fran. Kevin, how much would a healthy Aayuk help ease the loss of Deebo Samuel in that offense?
It'll be massive, but Jeremy, you mentioned that he's a glorified receivers coach. I'm worried what he's teaching them, because last year he only caught 54% of his passes. That's down from 72% the year before. Brock Purdy was over 60% to every other player on the Niners roster. So yes, they need him with the contract they gave him with Deebo Samuel gone to be a great playmaker, the one they decided to pay. The fact that his contract barely kicked in, they want to get rid of him like the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau, that is a bad sign. It's ugly. They need a bounce back year from him.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. If Aayuk plays like he did the year before, when he got the contract, before he got hurt, you can absolutely see how important he is in this offense, particularly because of his skill set, which really no one else in this group has. They did draft Ricky Pearsall, hoping to replicate some of it, but that ability to win deep, outside the numbers, on extended plays with Brock Purdy. It was, by the way, a part of the offense that was unlocked because Brock Purdy was willing to throw those balls in a way that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't. The Niners offense is not as complete without Brandon Aayuk and his skill